There's something that most every human being, at least from my perspective, wants. Something that we all desire, we all appreciate. We've all probably done it at one time or another. And when we reflect back, we think back on those days or those times or those projects, and we think that was great. And it's the feeling of putting in a hard day's work. I don't think that it's very common for us to, and it's fine to take a day off, to F off, to do nothing. But those aren't the days that we really look back on and say that was really a meaningful thing. Felt really good about doing that. It's great self-care, whatever term that you want to think. And I have never been an advocate for any kind of hustle porn or working 365 days a year, 24/7 kind of nonsense. But so those days are fine. But I think that we look back and we say, you know what, that time that I volunteered on that farm, or I did that Habitat for Humanity build, or I did this, and as a team, we really buckled down. We put in long hours and we got it done. Those are the times that we want to feel like we earned it. We showed up, we put in the blood, sweat, and the tears, or whatever, and we earned the rest that we enjoyed. Because I don't think that we want an easy life. I don't think that we want a life of luxury and to not have our hands be free of calluses. Sometimes we say that we do, but I don't think that we really do. Because a life without any kind of resistance, a life that doesn't demand things of us, a life where we don't need to put in effort, that doesn't feel good. It doesn't certainly doesn't feel like freedom. It just feels like I think it's just blah. It's vapid. It's pointless. Not getting anything out of it. I'm not putting in, so I'm not going to get out. And when we find ourselves just going through the motions, sort of drifting along, it's not a satisfying thing. In fact, it's going to lead to dissatisfaction. For most of human history, we didn't need to read some kind of an affirmation or get pumped up by an image or a meme on the internet. We didn't need David Goggins or Jocko Willink to tell us to work hard and get off of our butts because we were farmers. We were hunters. And if we didn't perform, well, you know what? We're going to die or our loved ones are going to suffer. The people that build critical infrastructure, that build homes, they know. So at the end of the day, the proof was in the effort that they saw right before them. A, a wall that was put up, crops that were harvested, whatever. A field was planted, a wall was built, a problem was solved, students were educated. The work was really clear. And because the work was really clear, the dignity of work was also really clear. What about now? Well, we're doing a lot of knowledge work. And a lot of that knowledge work, like emailing, Zoom calls, whatever, meetings, it's it's time and a life spent sort of partially engaged. And at the end of the day, if you feel tired, it's not because you put in a lot of effort. We could be tired just because we're exhausted by all of it and we're sort of numbed out. And that feeling of tiredness, however you think about that, it's certainly not a feeling of pride. It's I'm tired just because I was so busy doing nonsense, just moving sort of paper from one side of the decks to the other, or moving around ones and zeros, or however that goes. So we're all busy, but we're not feeling very fulfilled. And that's because exhaustion does not lead to satisfaction. Putting in meaningful effort, that's what leads to satisfaction. We also really like to romanticize hard work. During the pandemic, a lot of people moved out of certain places and moved to other places. One of those places was people moved to Montana. And maybe that's because of the popularity of certain television shows or just the promise of life on the frontier. But what happened? What happened? Well, that was pretty short-lived because it gets really effing cold in Montana. And a lot of that stuff is really, 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 really hard. You think farming is a romantic thing, and it certainly is. But farming every day, well, that's something entirely different. Brutal cold, early mornings, broken equipment, long days, lots of uncertainty, so much risk day in and day out. You are pushing that boulder up the hill, Sisyphus style, only to see that sucker roll back down. Hmm. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again. The same thing is true in almost every field. We romanticize entrepreneurship. We romanticize the business of writing. We romanticize building a business. But the reality is repetition, practice, persistence, showing up again and again and again. And through that process, that repetitive process, that whole romance that we were expecting, well, it starts to, the veneer gets a little thin on that deal. And here's the part that really kind of sucks. Somewhere along the way, our culture started pretending that hard work itself is the problem. It's not. The problem is BS, aimless, vapid, stupid work. The problem is undirected or inappropriately directed effort. But instead of solving that problem, we just choose the easier explanation. We decided that the problem is just work itself. So what do we start doing? We avoid it. We procrastinate on it, we delay it, or we just never start doing it. And if we're being charitable, it's maybe that people lack direction. Maybe being less charitable is that people are just lazy. Both are probably true. Pretending that it's something other than that or that it's not those things, that's not helpful. But I'm interested in being helpful because I don't think that anybody's permanently lazy. Do I think anybody's permanently lazy? Not necessarily. It's just that we're not engaged. They're just not engaged. There's this great book called The Power of Full Engagement by Jim Loehr. He was a sports psychologist, did a lot of work with tennis players, and just talked about how when we are putting forth our fullest amount of energy and just our entire selves into something that we believe to be meaningful and of value and important, that's when it really clicks. And I just think that many people never read that book and that we've never been shown how to do that. Because why would we know? Just do it. Well, I don't know how to do it, so I can't just do it. It's obvious. I just choose. Well, if I'd never really been taught how to make good decisions, do you think most people can make good decisions? Are most human beings good at making decisions? Are they good at deciding what they want and then evaluating options and then choosing and then executing? I don't think so. And again, I don't think it's because we're lazy. I just don't think that we know. So what happens? Continue drifting along. We start stuff, we stop it. There's no continuity at all. You put in a couple of days or maybe a week's worth of work. Then you take some time off, make some new plans, abandon those. And it's not because we're not capable human beings. It's because we've never built a habit of really dedicated and directed effort. And without direction and dedication, effort is just kind of pointless. It's just spinning your wheels, which is why the goal, it's not endless struggle. You don't have to nearly die trying to plant crops in Montana to feel fulfilled. You don't need to grind yourself into the ground. There's that middle ground, that just right, that Goldilocks eventually found. Not easy, not too easy, not too hard, not too brutal, just right. Buddha talked about this, right? Buddhism talks about the middle way, yin and yang. It's all over the place. Just right. That's what we want. It's just right. A life where you worked hard, but you worked hard in service of something that really matters. A life where effort is a normal thing. It's regular. You do it consistently, you do it directedly. A life where you look back at the day and you think, yes, that was meaningful. That really counted. I'm advancing and moving towards something. I'm keeping the plate spinning and incrementally moving forward. And when we start living like that, I think that things change because then it's not feeling like hard work is like some kind of a punitive thing. I think it more feels like we're participating in our own success. We're participating in the building of something for our benefit, but also something that's far greater than we are. We're participating in becoming the best possible version of ourselves and actively bringing about the realization of our fullest potential. And that's what our souls want. My soul does not desire a luxurious life devoid of effort. I want a life where my effort, it counts. It's meaningful. It's going towards something. And that is the challenge that so many of us are facing. It's not a problem of not wanting to do effort or not being disciplined. It's not that we don't want to have direction. It's that we just lack clarity around those things. So we have to know what matters to you. What is the most important thing? What actually deserves your fullest effort? What deserves your full engagement? What deserves your attention? What deserves the very few days that we actually have? Because we have very few days. Got to slow down long enough to ask and answer those questions. Otherwise, we'll just keep getting carried along by the currents of life. Working hard sometimes, quitting sometimes, starting again sometimes. But once you answer the question, what matters, you decide what actually matters. I think that everything changes for you. Because now there's a target, there's purpose. And when we have those things, discipline becomes more sustainable, becomes easier to keep it moving. We learned that on the first day of physics class. An object in motion will stay in motion unless acted on by an outside object. But right now, we're at rest. And an object at rest will stay at rest unless acted upon by an outside force. So, I'm not advocating that anybody attempts or is able to live a perfect life. I'm not advocating that anybody attempts or tries to live an easy life. What I am advocating is that you work to build a life where your effort is directed at something that you believe actually matters. And when that happens, a hard day's work stops feeling like a burden and starts feeling exactly the way that it is, which is a life well spent. A life in which you do your part